Hi everybody, it's Kim with South Metro Fire Rescue. You might be wondering to yourself, why is the fire department visiting my science class? It comes down to what's hurting you. Today we're going to discuss Newton's 3 laws of motion and how it pertains to car accidents and what you can do to be safer. Let's have some fun. One safety note for my students and especially my chiefs. At no point am I actually driving and recording during any point of this class. You are so close to driving age. Did you know older children like yourself accounted for 7 in 10 motor vehicle related fatal injuries? That's 72%, and you all died more than 7 times the rate of any other child age groups. So what exactly is it about car accidents that is hurting you all? In order for us to understand this, we're going to look at Newton's 3 laws of motion. Newton's first law of motion states, objects in motion tend to stay in motion, and objects at rest tend to remain at rest unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. A car will remain not moving until, yes, you push the gas pedal. You will sit in the car not moving until the motor moves the car and the car pushes the seat, which ultimately pushes you. You will continue to move forward until you brake. When you push the brake pedal, the braking system slows your tires, which slows your car, which slows your seat, because they're all attached. However, your body will continue in motion unless the seatbelt attaches you to the car. If you've ever had a soda, an apple, a book, or another item not seatbelted, and the car quickly stopped, you have seen this in motion. Do you remember that apple from earlier? You know, the one that wasn't wearing its seatbelt and flew through the air because it was an object in motion and it remained in motion? Well, now it has a bruise. There are actually 3 collisions during a car accident. The first is the car hitting the object, for example, a tree. And then there's the body collision where the body, the bones, the muscles, everything like that hit the car. And then there's a third collision, and it's an internal collision. Just like everything else, an object will remain in motion, including your internal organs, and they'll remain in motion until they hit something. In this case, your skull. So we're going to use Newton's 3 laws to try to figure out what would happen in a certain situation. First example, a student gets into their car and they put on their seatbelt, they're ready to go. You know what? I forgot my phone. I'll be right back. So they go, and they're tired, and they get their phone, and they come back in. Now we have our phone, and they've been busy. And just like you guys, sometimes they're tired and they're like, okay, I'm in my car. I gotta go to my friend's house. We're gonna do some studying. I'm gonna start driving. So they start going, start their car up, and they start driving. Now we're gonna pretend that there is a long road. And at the end of this road, there is a tree. And then it kind of curves, and that's where they're at. Well, as this person starts driving, they kind of start to nod off. Now, is this person going to make that turn? No, an object in motion is going to stay in motion, and it's going to stay that same trajectory. It's going to keep going straight. And there's this big tree at the end. Now the car is going to hit the tree. We know that. But what's going to stop me? Now, if you noticed, when I got in the second time, I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Knowing that I'm not wearing a seatbelt, what will stop my body? Will it be the steering wheel, the airbag, the windshield, or the tree? For us to discover what's going to happen to my unseatbelted body and what's going to stop it, we're going to use Newton's second law of motion. Force equals mass times acceleration. For this discussion today, we are not going to take into account gravity or friction laws. If we assume my mass is 125 pounds and it was traveling 60 miles per hour, we can assume that whatever it's going to hit will hit with the same force as 7,500 pounds. 7,500 pounds of force. Now, I want you to be aware that I do not weigh 7,500 pounds. No, that is the same weight as a female elephant. What this is representing is the amount of weight my body would feel as it hits whatever it comes into contact with. So let's talk about the steering wheel in the case of the car crash where I'm unseat belted. If I was traveling 60 miles per hour and weighing 125 pounds, my body is going to hit that steering wheel as if it was being hit with 7,500 pounds of force. It would not stop a female elephant, nor would it stop my body. It would injure my body, and my body would continue on its journey and its trajectory. So let's talk about the airbags. Some of you may have thought that it's the airbag that would stop your body. However, if you're unseat belted, an airbag will not stop your body. An airbag is supposed to work with your seatbelt and cannot be used by itself. I have this airbag. It's from a steering wheel. It's from right in the middle. It was deployed, and your steering wheel or anywhere that it has an airbag has sensors that go to different parts of your vehicle. The sensors look for a great deceleration. What that means is not just that we have slowly stopped our car at a stoplight or a stop sign. What it means is it went from a set speed, maybe 25 miles per hour, or in our case today, 60 miles per hour to zero. It suddenly stopped. We also don't just look for small impacts. Otherwise, someone could kick your bumper and set off your airbags. It doesn't happen like that. This airbag, when it deploys just like a blink of an eye. Some of you might be doing this right now. It opens very fast. As it opens, the one in your steering wheel is going to inflate based on a small explosion, inflate. And as it inflates, this giant basically balloon is going to take some of my forces and disperse them. Some of you have probably heard, oh, I'm gonna suffocate, in this balloon, I won't be able to breathe. It's not true. In every airbag, there are holes. So as your body hits the airbag, the air disperses out the holes and it takes some of your forces and disperses them. So as we're talking about would an airbag stop your body, think about that 7,500 pounds, that female elephant. I am not going to stop 7,500 pounds with a simple bag of air. The only way I could stop that force is if I use it in conjunction with my seatbelt. So let's talk about that windshield. After your body went past the steering wheel and past the airbag, would your front windshield keep your body inside? Two fascinating things about a windshield. A windshield is covered in plastic to keep it from shattering, and it also is only there to protect you from the wind. Now imagine that female elephant is standing on your windshield, 7,500 pounds of force. Do you think that windshield would keep it outside? No, in fact, it would come inside and go through that plastic. The same thing happens to your body in an accident. Your body would peel through that plastic and continue on its trajectory, like a fist going through a plastic bag. So ultimately, if you don't wear your seatbelt, you would go past the steering wheel, past the airbag, past the windshield, and hit that tree with the same force as 7,500 pounds. So going back to the original question on why is your age specifically getting hurt the most in car crashes? It comes down to one word: projectiles. That means to fly through the air. In this case, it's your body flying through the air. But what about your passengers and the other items? Let's first start with the other passengers in your car. Sometimes I get people who say, I don't want to wear my seatbelt. Well, legally, if you're in the front seat, you have to wear it. And if you're under 18, whatever seat you're sitting in, you have to buckle up as well. But here's the thing, whether it's because of the law, there's another law that's going to affect you, and it's Newton's 3 laws of motion. Just because you're sitting in the back seat doesn't mean they won't affect you. So what would happen if somebody's in the back seat not wearing their seatbelt? Well, they become a projectile too. Now let's say they're 100 pounds, going 60 miles per hour. 100 times 60 is 6,000 pounds of force. Now, we watched some of the crash test dummies, and a lot of times the body will come up out of the back seat, hit the ceiling of the car, squish, and then continue on to the front seat, killing both passengers. So now let's think about if one person or both people aren't wearing their seatbelts and they're sitting next to each other and there's a car crash. So wherever you're sitting in the car, we want to make sure that you're buckled up. But what about the other things in your car, like a backpack? Okay, so we are going to talk about your backpack now. If force equals mass times acceleration, and the mass of your backpack, we'll just say, is a simple 15 pounds. Now let's say that we were traveling 60 miles per hour. That backpack is going to feel like 900 pounds of force. When kids typically get into a car, you might come in and you sit down because you know seatbelts are the right thing to wear, and you put it on. But where does your backpack go? So your backpack, a lot of times, kids will put them right down here by their knees. Well, going back to Newton's first law, an object in motion will continue in motion. So in an accident, my body wants to go forward, but my seatbelt's gonna lock up, and this is gonna disperse my forces this way over my major bones as I continue forward and then back. My backpack, when it's not restrained, is gonna continue forward. Well, it won't have anywhere to go except maybe the footwell. It's not gonna go through metal, so it's gonna hit the metal and then come back with force on my legs, breaking my knees and my lower legs. If I can't keep my backpack down by my legs, I got it. What if I hold it? I'm gonna hold it, seems great. Well, 900 pounds is a lot of force. In an accident, once again, my seatbelt's gonna lock up, my body wants to continue forward, and then I am going to release the 900 pounds. If I'm holding onto it tight, 900 pounds can actually break my arms. And now it's actually up higher in the car, and when it hits something, it's gonna come back and hit me in this area. Okay, I think I got it. I'm gonna put my backpack on my stomach and I'm going to belt myself in. This looks super silly. I got it, right? Not quite. You're actually going to be traveling at slightly different speeds, and so when we come back, even if it's not a lot, that's a lot of force to hit you in the stomach, and it can hurt your intestines. If I can't hold it and I can't lock it onto my chest, I got it. I'm gonna put it behind me, right? If I do this should work because it's only gonna hit my body. What do you think? Once again, an object in motion will continue in motion. So car accident hits, this locks up. There's a little forward motion, of course. And as I return back, notice what happens. My neck is going to continue in this motion until it hits something. Now, there's nothing to support it because I have separated my back from the back of the car seat with the backpack. So actually my neck is going to extend, and your trachea and your esophagus, so your stomach pipe and your windpipe, are going to try to stretch, which they can't, and they're going to break. All right, what about this one? We're gonna put behind the seat. Do you remember that apple or that kid who went up and then down to the front? If this isn't buckled in, it's just like another passenger that can come up and hit you. So what do you do? Well, it looks a little silly, but put your seatbelt through the straps and buckle it in. There you go. A seatbelt's made to hold up to, I believe it's like 22,000 newtons of force. So this can definitely handle your backpack. If there's a rollover, it's not gonna go anywhere. It's buckled in tight. But this is when I'm always going to get, well, what happens if all the seats are taken? Some cars have an amazing thing called a trunk in the back, separated from the people, so that backpack doesn't become a projectile. Now, the other option you can do is obviously buckle it in, but in the way back, my car is one big cabin. Basically, the front area is connected to the back area. So what do you do in this? Because it can go around and hit things. Well, here's a secret. In the very back, there should be some luggage hooks. Your adult should have received some kind of luggage covering or a wrap to tie in that baggage, so that way it doesn't fly around and become a projectile. For this next section, we're going to add in Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In car crashes, what this equals out to is what kind of injuries you could receive. A seatbelt is made to take your forces and disperse them. So as I'm pushing, my action of pushing onto the seatbelt, it's also pushing back with the same force. However, it disperses it among the webbing and also my larger bones that can take it. For example, my clavicle, my sternum, and my hips. Now, as it does this, I'm pushing, we'll just say going back to that female elephant, 7,500 pounds. This webbing is also pushing back on me with 7,500 pounds, but it's spreading it among these larger bones. But what happens if you don't wear your seatbelt properly? Okay, so you saw how I should have been wearing my seatbelt, but this is typically how I see a lot of kids in cars sitting. And I like to call it the 8th grade slouch. Kind of low, they're on their phone, sometimes their knees are up. Where is this seatbelt sitting? Right? It's not on those bones, it's over my intestines. What are your intestines for? Right? And so if this punctures inside, this is going to get damaged. All right? Sometimes this annoys kids and they decide to do this. And now you see the seatbelt's going underneath my arm, not over my sternum and my clavicle. And underneath here are my ribs. So those ribs are protecting your lungs. And what those ribs will do is actually pop in and they affect my lungs. They could pop them and now I need surgery and I'm having a hard time breathing. Now, what happens if we do this? Now, I have completely removed this front piece and now it's only sitting on my pelvis, if that. I'm going to keep in motion and keep moving forward and there's nothing to stop me. My spinal cord cannot elongate. It's not meant to do this. And so at the end of the time, I am now moving forward and my spinal cord gets damaged. You may have been on a road trip and your seatbelt's on, but you kind of want to do this. What's the issue with that? What's underneath there? The airbag. And how fast can an airbag open? And what's going to happen to me, my legs, and my body when and if that airbag opens up? And I will get the questions from my students that say, all right, Miss Kim, how am I supposed to sleep in the car? Right? Now, perfect world, you would sleep upright. Your seatbelt would be over your clavicle, your sternum, and over that hip bone. And you would just figure out how to stay in the most clearly aligned way. And I know it's not comfortable, but we definitely want, and I get it, sometimes we tip to the side a little bit, but at least our seatbelt's covering that core area. When you remove your seatbelt when you're sleeping or do this or whatnot, you are taking away the safety features. And if you're in a crash, your body just can't handle that. You need all the safety devices your car came with. So now we've come full circle talking about Newton's 3 laws of motion and how those 3 laws of motion affect what's going to happen to you in a car crash. I have some added bonus material for those of you who are wondering about bus safety and why don't I have to wear a seatbelt on a bus, and a couple activities about distracted driving. In addition, there's a Bitmoji classroom that you can go through and learn more about seatbelts, car crashes, the laws of motion, and all of that. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at reducingrisk@southmetro.org. Stay safe. Why don't we use seatbelts when riding in large school buses? Large school buses are heavier, have reinforced sides, and distribute crash forces differently than passenger cars and light trucks do. Because of these differences, bus passengers experience much less crash force than those in passenger cars, light trucks, and vans. If a car crashes into a bus, the bus has much more mass and can distribute its forces over that greater mass. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration decided that the best way to provide crash protection to passengers of large school buses is through a concept called compartmentalization. This requires that the interior of large buses protect children without them needing to buckle up. You are protected from crashes by strong, closely spaced seats that have energy-absorbing seat backs. Think of passengers like eggs in an egg carton. Without the carton, the egg would splat. So we need you to ride within the compartment and not hang into the aisles. So just a quick note on distracted driving, as it is the #1 cause of car crashes. Distracted driving can come in many forms, from eating, hanging with friends, or maybe you are just tired. If your mind is not completely focused on driving, you're distracted. Some of you might think, you know what, I'm a great multitasker, and I can do all these things while I'm driving. You really can't do everything the best that you can at the same time. So here's a little game you can play. In this example, you're going to work with 2 other friends. One of your friends you are going to thumb wrestle with. At the same time, you are going to play rock, paper, scissors with your other friend. Let's see how well you do.